Hello, this is Jamie Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. So first we have, the greatest threat to the liberty of the American people isn't China or Russia, it's the government of the United States, from Oron McIntyre on Twitter, and I posted that, and now I'm quote tweeting, a user Shu at Samsar. An anti-terrorism brief was held on Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, today, where they listed several pro-life organizations as terrorist organizations. The slice you see here follow Raptors by ISIS as terror group in the Middle East. The organizations labeled by the Army as terror organizations include National Right to Life and Operation Rescue. They also included a screenshot of license plate with "I'm for it," which is a plate many pro-life citizens put on their car, which implies normal citizens are terrorists if they display this plate. The slide goes on to mention activities these organizations participate in, which include being pro-life, opposing Roe v. Wade, demonstrating and protesting a First Amendment protected right, truth displays, and picketing. They also falsely attribute the bombing of abortion clinics to the National Right to Life. Keep in mind, they're not labeling them as extremist organizations, which would still be crazy, but as terrorist organizations. The military and Department of Defense are insanely out of control. Service members are being indoctrinated to view pro-life groups as the enemy. And I said, I personally have always been more on the pro-choice side, but the increasing push to label any dissent at all as terrorism is very concerning. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, is it okay to get food stamps when you're just pursuing your passion? Friday by Lemon Limelight, and they said in New York Times Magazine column, is it okay to get food stamps if you're just pursuing your passion? The answer is whether a starving artist with a personal safety net should receive government assistance. And from all political philosophies, Rich Cannon, the emphasis shows the Soviet Constitution, Stalin's version too, no less, to make a point about valuing labor for the socialist tradition. It is referencing the fundamental document of a failed totalitarian regime, a document signed by a ruthless dictator and cold personality, completely discrediting, or maybe that's just the best the actual socialism has to offer. In any case, here's the essence answers. And they linked in some paragraphs from the article. I suspect you think that we shouldn't rely on payments that come from other people's work unless we have to. You're thinking of society then as a system in which each of us should use our talents to make whatever reasonable contribution we can. From this perspective, accepting public assistance when we could avoid doing so could look like taking advantage of our fellow citizens while we're earning enough to support themselves, some of them, by doing jobs they don't much enjoy. And then they have a few more paragraphs to that, and then they added, at the end, they added, do you agree? Do you think it's okay to collect government assistance while pursuing your passion? And I said in response, if you want to live off the government, that's on you. Just be aware that the government can potentially take away any of those benefits if it deems you guilty of wrongthink. And, that's my thoughts on that issue. That's why I think it's important to, live off your own resources as much as you can, not live off the resources of the government. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have My Brain Hurts Reams from Defiant L's on Twitter, and I posted that, and he said it's a screenshot of a Reddit post, r/transparent trans kid from u/funky Duffy. Anyone else have trouble convincing your teen kids to continue transitioning? My 14-year-old daughter, assigned male at birth, has started refusing her estradiol pills, so I've been crushing the pills and putting it in her cereal in the morning. I'm just not sure why she doesn't want to take her pills anymore. And apparently that was a fake post, but I said anyway, the fake that this is all plausible tells you exactly what kind of website Reddit is. Looks like it's fake, but I stand by my statement. And, that just goes to show you that, Redditors think drugging people is bad unless, it's done for good reasons. Like, I would say some Redditors might say, oh, this is a good reason to drug people, and that's why, ultimately a lot of people will just accept authoritarianism when it's something they agree with, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have probably worst case scenario for Dems, did well enough to invigorate Blue MAGA and bad enough for viral clips of Vice President Trump and Putin to circulate among stormy voters all weekend, from Sager on Jetty on Twitter, and that was his response to Biden's quote-unquote big boy press conference. And I said, I think he's still going to win. I think people are underestimating just how many blue NPCs there are. It doesn't matter that he's completely brain dead and calling Trump is vice president and Vladimir Zelensky President Putin, he's still going to win because, people just think the orange man is that bad. And that just goes to show you that, it doesn't even matter if he's living or not, I don't think. He might still get elected. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Nevada County engulfed in chaos after Republicans refuse to certify election, regular GOP attempt to invalidate voting, from CH for Locksmiths, crosspost from the In the News subreddit from rawstory.com. And that just goes to show you that, why votes are ultimately worthless. They are not backed by the force of the state. Unlike the actual force of the state. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have free market capitalist Elon Musk vows to sue advertisers who exercise their freedom in the market, attempt to get government mandated alimony to wealthiest person on earth, and that's from CH4Lux, and that's across from the Enough Musk Man Severance, a tweet from Elon Musk. Having seen the evidence unearthed today by Congress, X has no choice but to file suit against the perpetrators and collaborators of the advertising boycott racket. Hopefully some states will consider criminal prosecution. And I personally disagree with Elon there. But that being said, I do think it's glad. I do like how he's kind of standing up for free speech. Yesterday I saw he tweeted that the European Safety Commission or something was going to fine him unless they silently removed content. And he said all the other platforms complied, but we didn't. And I think that's why I personally think that he's more on the free speech side than I think a lot of people will give him credit for. But that being said, that he definitely isn't entitled to have advertisers on his platform if they want to be there. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have McCardle to Harlowson putting Oliver on Colorado ballots instead of RFK. You will not assert my authority as chair. Across from the Libertarian Party USA subreddit by Dr. Who 07. And that was said, McCardle Harlowson, you will not assert my authority as chair. You have taken unilateral actions this week that have put us at risk of legal action. To be clear, you acted outside scope of your authority when you sent the form to the Secretary of State, knowing that LP Colorado has entered into a written agreement with Kennedy. Now you want to rope us in and have us sanction your actions and possibly take legal action and involve us or if you are sued for it. I want to make it abundantly clear you had no authority to do so, and I don't know about it. We are not being pulled into a lawsuit on your behalf. I've also learned that you have personally threatened to sue LP Colorado and sent a demand letter, so you have a serious conflict of interest here, and should not be voting on any legal action from this board. And they link to the LNC public business list on the Google groups, and then the video votes in this thread to block Harlow's attempt to make sure the Oliver ticket is on the ballot are troubling, and that's also from the Google group. And my thoughts on that are, ultimately, I think, neither Chase Oliver or RFK Jr. has any realistic shot at winning this election. But, ultimately in a voluntary collective like the Libertarian Party, I think, people will justify what they justify. Just because collectivism is voluntary doesn't mean people still won't disagree. And this is a good example of that. And with that being said, I think, if they want to justify having RFK Jr. on the ballot in Colorado, I think they should be able to. And if the other people disagree with that, ultimately, sometimes, you can't always get what you want. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Personally, I think they should just suck it up and go for Chase Oliver, but, I'm not in the position. I don't live in Colorado. I've never been to that state, so I'm not really in a position to speak there. Then we have Supreme Court left the door open for a wealth tax, but it's still a terrible idea from Reason.com by Lemon Limelight, and I would agree very much with that notion. I don't think any tax is justified. Maybe a land value tax would be the most justified, but still, all taxation is inherently theft. And if you're forced to do something, you shouldn't be forced to do something. You should be willing to do it voluntarily. And that's my thoughts on that issue. And then we have Great Moments and Unintended Consequences, DoorDash, Google AI, French Wikipedia, Volume 16 from Reason TV on YouTube, and I posted that. And yeah, I that's one of my favorite series from Reason. I think Reason's kind of a bit of the normie libertarian source. But that being said, I definitely do think it's very important to note that all actions, however, while meaning will have unintended consequences, and that's something that's I think is very very libertarian notion to note. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have the Libertarian Party versus Chase Oliver from Nuance Matters, and that's crosspost from Reason.com, crosspost from the Chase Oliver 2024 subreddit. And I personally think the Libertarian Party did choose to have him as their national candidate, so all the state affiliates should just suck up and have him as their candidate on the ballot. But that being said, I don't think it really matters too much. I don't think he's taking more than 2 to 3% of the vote in the best case scenario. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have the irony is lost on some people from Cal Dog Curmudgeon. That's a meme of Ron DeSantis. Hypocrisy definition supporting mandating the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer in public schools while advocating for small government. And I would agree with that. Ultimately, small government, we shouldn't be forcing schools to do anything they don't want to. I think having a state-based curriculum at all is going against libertarian values. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, should the Libertarian Party advocate for a ban on abortion from brain sauce? And they said with the rise of the Mises Caucus to the promise of the Libertarian Party and their Republican opposition to abortion rights, I want to gauge how libertarians at large feel about the connections to this contentious and controversial issue. Do you believe the official party on the National Libertarian Abortions have been nationally banned on the procedure? For sake of simplicity, this question only pertains to the first trimester of a pregnancy, and we will assume that the life of the child or a mother is not at risk, and it will not result in sexual assault. Note, this pool is asking whether or not there should be federal or state punishment and enforcement of this, not your own personal beliefs on the subject. And they had a link to a poll. I didn't think I voted on the poll, so I'll vote on the poll now. And let's see what the options are. We have, yes, I believe in nationwide ban. Non-nationwide ban, but I leave it to the states whether or not to ban. No, I don't believe the feds nor the states should have the authority to ban it. And I vote for the last option. That one with 37 votes. The other options have 3 votes for non-nationwide ban, leave the states whether or not to ban, and 1 vote, yes, I believe in nationwide ban. So that's pretty consensus there, I would say. I personally think, abortion's a bodily autonomy issue. I personally don't really care for how the left kind of worships it as like a holy sacrament. But with that being said, I think, it's ultimately a bodily autonomy issue, and, you should be able to do whatever you want with your own body. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, let's see, where were we? We have, let's see, what ideological camp would he fall under? From the Ideology Post subreddit by Mac1996, and I said libertarian centrist lean right. I'm more of a voluntarist, if anything. I believe the state should be voluntary rather than forced, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have regressive taxation. Who pays state-by-state data from etep.org by CH Relax, and personally, I think that sounds like a noble idea, regressive taxation. But with that being said, I don't think anyone should be taxed if they don't want to be taxed, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Inside the Nightmare Health Crisis of a Texas Bitcoin Town from Time.com by CH Relax, and they added, as constitutional conservatives, they have taken our core values and used that against us. And personally, I don't really care for loud noises and Bitcoin mining, but ultimately it's whoever owns the property. If that damages bystanders, that's that their issue. And if people, I think, if they don't like that the Bitcoin mines are loud, ultimately I think they have, if they want to justify forming a collective and shutting it down, I think they should be able to. With that being said, it ultimately does come down to who has the force to do what, as with everything else. Then we have Pennsylvania's filial support law. Children can be held responsible for parents' unpaid nursing home bill. Never escape your birth situation from PAElderlaw.net by CH Relax, and that's crosspost from Not the Onion subreddit. And that just goes to show you that the state can justify charging you for whatever it wants to, even if it's not a service that you use, but rather service your parents used. And that's us by fault on that issue. Then we have federal judge rules the 156-year-old ban on at-home distilling is unconstitutional from FoxNews.com by Ninja Lover, and they added U.S. District Judge Mark Pittman in his ruling on Wednesday sided with the Hobby Distillers Association's lawyers that the 156-year-old ban exceeding Congress's taxing power and violated the U.S. Constitution's Commerce Clause. The Hobby Distillers Association is a group that advocates legalizing the person's production of spirits such as whiskey and bourbon for their personal consumption. And I personally would agree with that very much. Ultimately, I think if people want to distill alcohol where they want to, I think they should be able to, as long as, there's no one. I think if they want to distill in their own homes, they should be able to. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Distill alcohol wherever you want to, as long as everyone in the area is okay with it, and they don't have the force to stop you. And that's my thoughts there. And let's see if there's anything new. It looks like there isn't anything new, so we're going to wrap it up there, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.